Hello and welcome to episode Trace of the Grave Consequences podcast. I am one half of this podcasting duo. I am Caleb B, and that is where you can follow me on Twitter. Please follow the podcast on Twitter at GC_cast. And I am joined, as always, by the man known as Maserati. Maz, how are you, my man?
Tired, man. I'm glad work's over for this week. I could go for another holiday week, but you know how it is.
You know what refreshed it though, man? Like all sorts of hectic things going on around me this past week, and being able to watch this 45 minutes of Lucha Underground and being able to talk about it here, just brightened up my days, to be completely honest with you, because this was a great episode of Lucha Underground. The first great one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's refreshing to go back. I watched it last night. At first, I was like, ugh, I don't feel like watching it, but I got to do it before tomorrow. But as I'm watching it, I'm like, this was a good choice.
Yeah. And you can tell where there's certain things where, like, they were still finding their footing, because there's certain things that they did on this episode that, like, and it's small things, but, like, they change it up, man. Like, we'll talk about it during the Mil Muertes match, for example. Spoiler alert, but, we're going to hear about that in a few minutes anyway. But, man, starting off in a big way, we got a vignette with Konnan and El Jefe, Dario, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct, yep. They even bring up the issues with the border that you were talking about in the first episode, I think you were talking about. They bring that up right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Those were not kayfabe for the show. Those were very real. And Dario said, well, these luchadors, you say they're going to carry the league, but guess what? These three guys you're talking about tonight, they're going to face each other. So, by the way, we don't know who these guys are until the main event. So, just getting that built up in our mind, I was like, okay, well, I feel like Phoenix is one of them, but I don't know. And
it's
a whole,
he did name drop him.
Oh, he did, actually? Pardon me.
Yeah, and he it's like really slight. He even says like Drago, Phoenix, and then Pentagon. Like, it's funny because he says Phoenix. Like, he says Phoenix kind of weird. I remember that.
Phoenix. Yeah. It's a Spanish enunciation, I suppose. I don't know. I'm white, so I wouldn't know. I feel like the next thing after this, at least the next thing in my notes, was Dario in the ring, talking about, not enough lucha. And his mimic when he said that was just hilarious, man.
You're right. That was the next segment. There was a little line by Vampiro talking about how Blue Demon Jr. is in the hospital and it'll be fine. But that was it. It cut right to him coming out the office. And it's really cool how his office is right by the ring.
I do. I like that. And they play into that throughout the season or throughout the series as well.
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few times.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Even later on in this season, there is a certain match between a couple of luchadors where maybe someone goes through a hole in something. I don't know. We'll see. But basically, yes. Basically, Dario mocks the crowd, and he's mocking their affinity for lucha with El Mariachi Loco. He says, well, this guy, he's in a mariachi band. He works at a Mexican restaurant a block down the street. He's blah, blah, blah. He's like spitting in the face of lucha.
It was funny, though.
Mm-hmm. It was, especially because the guy who comes out, and I forgot just how over he was in the temple, but he was over from Jump Street. Like, from the second the crowd could see him, he was over. Masquerita Sagrada, the most over mini I've probably ever seen in wrestling before.
Is it mini or tiny? Were they calling him a mini?
Mini, yes.
Okay.
By the way, I guess the politically correct term is little person for the uninitiated, but either way.
I'm assuming it's PC. Let's assume that anything they say is PC, so don't get mad at us.
I don't know. I mean, Matt Striker's on there, so I wouldn't I wouldn't guarantee that.
That's true. What did he get in trouble for?
He's kind of outspoken.
Okay.
He's never been in any big trouble, but he's always been in like little scuffles here and there.
Yeah,
but
I remember.
I like the start of this match where Mariachi Loco is on his knees, just teasing Masquerita, and Masquerita immediately just kicks him right in the side of the head.
It was good. Yes.
Yeah. EML, as I wrote him down in my notes, missed a moonsault. Masquerita hit a tornado DDT, which was really impressive. And then he looked like he was going to go for another one, which, by the way, the tornado DDT got it too. He immediately set up like he was going to go for another one, but he kept Mariachi Loco in the choke and pinned him off of a small package off of that. Not a lot of time to celebrate, unfortunately, because Chavo Guerrero came out, immediately kicked the mini.
And Vampiro laughed so hard at that. He loved it.
Of course he did. He loved it, man. He's like, man, I didn't know what to think of Chavo until last week, but I love him now.
And there was a weird thing about that finish. Stryker said it was a Darce choke that he had him in, but it looked just like it was just a
it looked like a plain chokehold, man.
Yeah, it looked like a chokehold with a guillotine. It didn't. I mean, I'm not a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, but usually the Darce choke, I believe, involves the shoulder. I could be wrong, so don't get mad if I'm wrong. But it just looked like a guillotine choke. But whatever.
And get ready for even more Chavo Guerrero, because we immediately cut to a Chavo Guerrero interview. He basically spends this interview saying he's doing things his way now. He spent enough time doing things the Guerrero way, doing things to please his family, his relatives, all this, that, and the other. But he's talking about, he's burying the crap out of Blue Demon Jr. He says he's living off someone else's legacy. He's, not doing it on his own, blah, blah, blah. This is big time projection from Chavo Guerrero, and I loved it.
Did you think that Vampiro was being kind of like, I felt like he was burying Chavo because he was calling Chavo like a punk to his face.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's Vampiro's interview style on this show.
Dude, rewatching these episodes, I'm really thinking man, Vampiro is very unprofessional. I mean, these are wrestlers, he's old school where he's going to bury everyone else. But he calling the main heel at this point in the show, calling the main heel, a punk to his face and saying, and as the interviewer, normally the interviewer should get attacked. And the fact that Chavo didn't really respond and didn't attack him or even get angry at him for calling him a punk was kind of I feel like it undercut everything Chavo said. I was like, all right, well, you're kind of a punk because you're not doing anything about Vampiro, right there. Who's,
don't worry. Vampiro will get his, man.
He will, but it's just, I think that Vampiro is awful here.
Yeah. And I hope you like even more Chavo Guerrero, because we immediately cut to Chavo Guerrero presumably leaving the interview. He's confronted by Konnan. Konnan initiates by hugging him, saying yeah, you're familia, you're blah, blah, blah. He's like, hey, just so you know, Mexico's coming for you. They heard about what you did to Blue Demon, and they're going to hear about what you did to Masquerita, so they're coming for you. And this will be a key part of season 1 as well.
Yeah. There's stories are long term, and they set things up, and they give them time to cook, and then they pay off, and it's throughout. Sometimes it bleeds into multiple seasons. There's quite a few story arcs that are from season 1, episode 1, all the way to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So out of the frying pan into the fire, Chavo turns around. He's immediately immediately turns. Mil Muertes is staring a hole through him.
I would have shit myself.
Yeah, I would have done a lot worse than that. Katrina says, Katrina then warns him, basically says, hey, you took from Mil what was rightfully his, and don't worry, you're going to pay for that someday.
What did he take, though?
Somehow.
I don't understand that.
He just got some licks on Blue Demon.
Yeah, it was this. If you notice in this segment, every person that came up to Chavo came from in front of him, and then as they passed him, he turned around, and every time he turned back, somebody new was in front of him. When Mil left, he followed him with his head, and he turned around, and then Katrina was in front of him, and I was thinking how many times can they do a segment where this guy turns around, and then when he turns back, there's someone new. It should just go through the whole roster of just him turning into people.
I was going to say, I might have laughed if he turned around and Sexy Star was in front of him.
I mean, they could have done it, and I would have loved it, but it probably would have been terrible TV.
Yeah, absolutely. So we go from the Chavo Guerrero show to the Mil Muertes show, sort of, because we immediately get a vignette on Mil Muertes, narrated. I can't even talk today, man. Why are we doing a podcast right now?
Your choice.
Narrated by Katrina, and she explains, like, what was the date? It was something in 1985.
It was a big Mexican earthquake. I don't remember the exact date, but I think it's based on a real event.
October something 1985, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, earthquake with a 7.1 magnitude that killed his entire family. By the way, points if you wrote down Mil Muertes' name as a child pre-earthquake.
I didn't write anything down because I was hoping you took notes in this part.
I did, but I was just going to throw you some bonus points there, man. His name pre-earthquake was Pascual Mendoza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not as cool as Mil Muertes, but...
No, not nearly as cool. Like, not nearly as cool as your name literally meaning 1,000 deaths.
Yeah.
He rose from the ashes as Mil Muertes, and Katrina warns us that 1,000 deaths are coming. We cut to, already in the ring, Ricky Mandel, who will become a lot more in this show as the show carries on. Yes. But right now he's just already in the ring from Venice Beach, California, Ricky Mandel. And we are immediately joined by Mil Muertes. And Ricky Mandel should have ran immediately. He got one hope spot. He got one hope spot that was immediately snuffed out. Oh, at one point, by the way, Katrina gets involved in a way that is not like her throughout the rest of the show, like the rest of the series. Like, she tripped up Ricky. Like, she doesn't do that ever again that I remember.
I think she interrupts a lot of Evilise's matches, but no, she might use a rock on somebody, the rock that's important to Mil. She might have hit Phoenix with that. She does interfere a little bit, but
she doesn't interfere in that way where she's just doing the, like, typical WWE thing where she's tripping someone, you know?
And she shouldn't have really done it in this match either, because it's, Mil was going to win anyway. My favorite spot was when Ricky got on
anyway.
Well, when Ricky got on the turnbuckle and he was going to do a hope spot, he was going to do that top rope move, and Mil just slugs him with a right hand, coming down, knocks the shit out of him.
So badass.
It was.
Oh, by the way, I didn't write it down last week, and I can't believe we overlooked it. But last week, just going back real quick, when Chavo Guerrero hit Sexy Star with the chair, the crowd's chanting, "What the fuck?" I've literally never heard a crowd chant that before.
I'm trying to think if I have.
Not in wrestling, I mean.
Maybe, yeah. I could have sworn that's happened before, but now I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I know, right? So, that aside, Muertes wins with, you guessed it, a flatliner, a sick flatliner, by the way. Katrina comes in, and I believe she licks Ricky's face, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
There we go.
The one part that was interesting was, JR got in trouble for the thing with Anna Jay in AEW. It was funny because when did this come out, Lucha Underground? What year? 2016?
November 2014.
2014. Stryker made a comment about Katrina where she was banging on the apron. He was like, please keep doing that. And you know why he was saying that. And if he had said that today, it would have been.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, Lucha Underground would be off the air.
It would be.
Yeah. There was another Stryker quote, by the way. After she licked Ricky, Stryker said, "Does that turn anyone else on?"
Yes, yeah, and I think Vampiro, of all people, called him a sick puppy. But Vampiro is the kind of person where if he talks, don't listen, unless it's entertaining. But don't use it as advice or as input to make any of your decisions, because he just says, it's not even lies. He just says almost random shit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So after that, we go back from commercial. Johnny Mundo is trying to get to El Jefe's office, but of course, Cortez Castro and Mr. Cisco are out in front of it. Mundo fights them off to get to Dario, and in there, Mundo says, "Hey, I just want to match with Big Rick," and Dario says, well, you know what? You got it. Next week, main event. Which, by the way, this is the first match they are announcing a week ahead of time. The history of Lucha Underground.
And I even wrote down in my notes that I love the fact that they'll continue going down this route, but they'll set up a match for next week. And I know NXT does this, but I love it when a show gives a match time to cook. You know, they don't just give it to you right away. Like he does sometimes. Like if they're fighting in the ring, he'll be like, okay, have a match real quick. Like last week with Puma and Johnny Mundo and the crew. But I love the fact that it's like, okay, like it's realistic. And he's a booker and he's a great authority figure because he tries to give people what they want. He's not just trying to screw over the good guy for no reason. Like he actually wants people to come into his crowd. That's why he wants violence. That's why he sets up the matches he does. Not just because he's an asshole, because he is that.
I mean, he is, yeah.
But he also he's like, I want entertainment. And I love that element that makes him a real authority figure. Like, yeah, he's a jerk, but he's trying to make people come to his fight club for money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, man. So, oh, by the way, Johnny Mundo says, hey, when I'm done with Rick, you're next. So that's a nice little warning there for Mundo. And Dario looked rightfully scared.
Yeah, the crew didn't help him out at all. They were trash.
they were trashed outside. They were already taken care of. Oh, by the way, next up, Big Rick goes to El Jefe. He says he doesn't fight for free. He gets one stack of cash. Then he, reiterates like, hey, give me a little more. The stack of cash nearly doubles in size then. Puma vignette, I wrote down fought all his life. This is kind of like all the other Prince Puma vignettes from what I remember.
I didn't even take notes because it was literally the same thing.
It didn't really stick out. But yeah, it is just, they're just kind of, I feel like they're not beating you over the head with it necessarily, but they are letting you just keep reminding you like, hey, Prince Puma's here. Prince Puma is still here.
Yeah, he's still here. He hasn't left yet. He's been here for 3 weeks.
He's like the Poochie of Lucha Underground. All right, and I'm going to talk to you about the main event, but first, a word from our sponsor. Support for the Grave Consequences podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce manscaping accidents. Millions of balls are about to be nick-free thanks to Manscaped's advanced skin-safe technology. Manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past. When I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes so you can take a longer shave. The water-resistant technology allows you to groom in the shower. Oh boy. One of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming. They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. And let's not forget about the charging stand. Show your mower off loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. If you are listening to me speak right now, I beg you, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Trim that junk of yours. Get 20% off and free shipping with code SUPLEX at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Once again, get 20% off and free shipping with the code SUPLEX at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code SUPLEX. All righty, time for the main event, the first ever triple threat in Lucha Underground history. We are joined first from Inframundo, Drago. Sick tongue, by the way, man. I always love that tongue thing that he does, man.
Is it made of candy or something? Like, I always think it's like one of those stretchy hands or something.
I don't know, man. Someone, I think it was Stryker name dropped Gene Simmons, by the way, in that segment during his entrance. Next up, we hear the velvety song of... I don't know why I describe a song as velvety, but anyway,
we heard saxophone.
Yeah, we heard Thrill Switch by Cut One, which means one thing: Pentagon Jr. Oh boy, folks, if you've never watched Lucha Underground before and you're taking this journey with us, you're gonna love Pentagon Jr.
And his look is very interesting when he first appeared, and it's changed
Yeah,
drastically.
yeah. I feel like he's slimmed down since then, because like back in 2014, like he was bulky. Like he wasn't fat, but he had some bulk to him for sure.
I think it's the costume because it looks like frankly it looks like a Sub-Zero or Mortal Kombat ninja almost.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's
yeah,
directly influencing his outfit, but yeah, he changes it and it becomes more flattering, I think, over time.
absolutely. And last but definitely not least, we have Rey Fenix, or as he's known in Lucha Underground, just Phoenix. So just by these three names alone, I knew this match was going to be insane. I even texted you in the group chat. I said, this main event is a banger. I sent you that before the match had even started.
I believe you. I mean, you
Yeah.
weren't wrong.
Yeah. Man, I wrote down Pentagon is bulky, but that fucker can fly. And yes, he can.
He can fly and he can chop the shit out of your chest too.
Mm-hmm.
Starts early. Like the whole thing with him going quiet and then doing it, it's from the first match, he gets the crowd to be quiet and he chops the shit out of Drago.
Absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, early on in the match, we had one of the first ever. Of course, it's, synonymous with the character now. Even like, for example, I know you don't watch the NFL necessarily, but the tight end from the 49ers, George Kittle, even does the Cerro Miedo in play. Like, that's how over this has gotten.
It's great.
It is, man. It's amazing. Which, by the way, again, if you watch the show, you know the translation. But again, it means zero fear, and it's a nice little mantra for sure. I wrote down there was a springboard. Phoenix did a springboard cutter, by the way, which was insane.
Everything that dude does is insane, and
yeah,
he's one of the best wrestlers ever. And there were so many spots in this. I obviously didn't write them all down. Like the first one I wrote down was the first one was his 875 corkscrew twist off the top rope to them on the apron. That's what Vampiro called it. Yeah, he called it 875.
You writing that, like you even describing that just sounds insane. And that's the thing with matches like these. I'm not going to write all the notes down. I'm not going to give you all everything because if you haven't already, like ideally, I want you guys to see these matches for yourself. But if you haven't already, this is just further encouragement for it. Again, it's easy to find on YouTube. It's from November 12, 2014. It's this triple threat here in this main event. Oh, by the way, after Phoenix did his little cutter off the ropes to Pentagon, that was the first time we got to see the commentary team really like visibly mark out, which is a common theme in Lucha Underground.
Vampiro's jaw dropped, and he should be familiar with the product, but his jaw dropped, and Striker was like, I think he even said he was like, he was losing his mind because the spots in this are incredible.
I feel like I've seen Vampiro like leave the commentary booth to go jog around the ring because the spot was so awesome.
He'll get up and he'll walk around because he'll take his headset off and just walk around because he's so hyped up. And it's great.
It really is, man. At one point, Phoenix goes all the way up to the steps. I'm like, what the hell is he doing up there? And then I'm like, oh, he's probably doing some sort of flippy shit that I'll love later for sure.
As soon as he started going up the steps, I was like, oh, crap, we're going to have a dive already. And he goes up to the top, like above Dario's office. And, of course, he dies onto
his waiting opponents.
Yeah, and there was some elements of people waiting and helping each other with moves, and they're getting up.
That will always be. Yeah, that will always be my one gripe with Lucha in general. And I love Lucha Underground, but that'll always be my one gripe is there will be a lot of times where the bases are like they just seem like they're kind of waiting, like they're counting squares on the tile or something.
Yeah, and if you're being fair, there is some of that in this, and it's because they are switching styles from AAA to like a more American version of Lucha, but it's still great. It's just it's not going to hold up to like a perfect match where there's none of that. And there was even a part where Striker, he referenced Tanahashi when Pentagon does the Switchblade. And I don't think I've seen Pentagon do the Switchblade in a while. I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, he used to do this move. Have you noticed him doing that in AEW? Because I don't think I have.
Man, I have not. I really haven't.
maybe we're crazy, but like I could have sworn it's been a while that he's done it. I mean, it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just it's interesting that he had this move. It was his move, and he used it a lot. But now it's just I'm not seeing it much.
Yeah, listeners, feel free to chime in if we are missing anything. But oh, by the way, Phoenix gets the win off of a freaking huge Frankensteiner.
Poison Rana, reverse Hurricane Rana.
Is that not the same thing as a Frankensteiner?
I thought a Frankensteiner was just a Hurricane Rana.
I could be mistaken, but I sure thought like a Frankenstein. I don't know. Either way,
it
was awesome.
The internet
is what it was.
Yeah, the internet will tell us what's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, it started with the first thing was Pentagon doing a package pile driver on Drago, and then Drago gets hit with Phoenix, who does a Samoan driver on him. That's the only name I know of that move. And then when Phoenix gets up, he manages to counter a move by Pentagon, and then he hits Pentagon with the Poison Rana, which is one of my favorite moves ever.
Absolutely. I wrote it down as a Frankensteiner, but apparently I was wrong. Either way, I loved it. We get a couple of minutes of Phoenix celebrating, but that is not the end of the show, folks, because we get a vignette featuring El Jefe, Dario Cueto. Never can have enough of Dario, to be completely honest with you. He's like between cages or something, and he's like, "Oh, Mundo thinks he's got one over on me," and this, that, and the other. Is like, "Man, I'm not afraid of anyone, not even you." And we hear something growling, and folks, we're gonna find out who or what that is one day, but not gonna tell you yet if you're not initiated. Gonna let you find out on your own.
Yeah, he's like talking about being scared, and it's all stemming from Johnny Mundo threatening him, and he's saying, he can't threaten me. Nothing scares me, not even you. Looking at the wall and insinuating there's someone on the other side.
Which, by the way, what it is, it should scare Dario.
It should, yeah. Dario's crazy, and I think eventually we hear his backstory, or maybe it's done in the comic. But everyone on this show is messed up, or a demon.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, folks, that was the show. Folks, we are not alone here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. There are plenty of other great shows on here. None as great as ours, of course. But we have on this lineup a bevy of great shows, including 8-Bit Suplex, hosted by Sandy Gaviria and Josh McLaughlin, even though he hates me for some reason. We also have All Things Elite, hosted by Austin S. and my fellow Okie, Floyd Johnson Jr. Again, that's All Things Elite. That covers AEW, and it does it in a damn good way. We got Get in the Ring, DJ Cooks, great host. Also, he hosts a show called The Great Match Generator, and I believe once or twice you've been on that show, if I'm not mistaken, right, Greg?
I was on the first one.
We've also got Grown Men Watch This Shit. Again, that's James Vanderbeek and Chris Bryan. Two great guys, in my opinion. Another show, New Japan Centric, Keeping It Strong Style, hosted by Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh Smith. A couple of great guys, in my opinion. Loads of great people on this network, if you notice the theme. Also, of course, we got the OGs of Social Suplex. We got One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd, every Sunday on the network. We've also got the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Last but not least, I love those guys. They're my homies from Scotland. Ricky, you are one handsome devil, and you guys put on a great podcast. And always remember to listen to the Grave Consequences podcast, or there will be grave consequences.